What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Then We Eat. On today's episode, we're going to be making Scotch eggs. We first discovered this recipe when I was just young. We used to do a movie day between Christmas and New Year's every day. We'd make a bunch of snacks, watch a bunch of movies, and just have a good day. This was one of those recipes we used to use all the time. Over the years we've altered it slightly, so today we'll show you our version of those Scotch eggs. So the first thing we have to do here is we have to hard boil some eggs. So I'm going to fill the water just over top of the eggs. And then I'm going to add a little bit of baking soda to the water as well. I find that helps keep the eggshell from sticking to the egg so much. That shell just pops right off with the baking soda. Then I'll throw it on the heat, on medium heat. We're going to let those come up to a boil. I'll cover them, pull them off, let them sit for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then they should be perfect. So I'll go ahead and I'll get that started, and I'll come back and we'll start on the meat mixture. So this recipe is actually very simple. Basically all we're going to do, we're going to take some sausage meat. Now usually to this mixture you're going to add salt and cayenne. I'm using my sausage meat for this and they're pretty well seasoned, so I'm not going to bother adding anything else to this. And then we'll move on to the breadcrumbs, and there is seasoning going in the breadcrumbs, so that will help the flavor quite a bit. Okay, so for the breadcrumbs, we need 2/3 of a cup of breadcrumbs, so we'll add those in. Now, to that breadcrumb mixture, we're going to add some Creole seasoning. This seasoning has 5 teaspoons of paprika, 4 teaspoons of salt, 4 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of thyme, 2 teaspoons of basil, 2 teaspoons of red chili flakes, as well as 2 teaspoons of cayenne and 2 teaspoons of oregano. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to add a bunch of that to this seasoning just to give that breadcrumbs a nice flavor, and then we'll move on to the next step. How much you want to add is entirely up to you, but what I would recommend is you kind of start small and you work your way up from there. Just kind of give it an eyeball test to see how much seasoning you can see in your breadcrumbs. You don't need a ton, but you obviously want enough that you're going to get a nice flavor out of it. I'm going to call that good there. That was about 1.5 tablespoons. And don't worry, you don't have to keep up with this recipe the whole way along. You can find the full recipe in the description box below. And that's true for every one of our videos. So if you're ever wondering what we put into it and you couldn't keep up, you can find it in the description box below. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to mix this meat up a bit. We need to form them into 3 balls and then flatten those balls out so we can wrap the egg inside. So we're just going to go ahead, as I say, you just kind of want to mix it all up. I mean, it's not a huge deal in this case that you do that because I didn't add anything else to it. And then you just want to make 3 even-sized balls. Now, what I'm going to do, you don't have to do this, but I have my scale here. I'm actually going to weigh these out and make sure they're all roughly an equal weight. The one thing you want to be mindful of while you're making these is that you don't get too much meat on one of your eggs. It just leaves a thin layer on one egg and a thick one on the other. You just want to keep those as uniform as you can. All right, we've got our sausage all weighed out. It's roughly 1/3 pound for each one, so that's perfect. So we're just going to flatten it out, make it into a very thin hamburger, and then we'll wait for the eggs to be ready, and we'll start stuffing our eggs. All right, so our eggs have come up to a boil now. I've taken them off the heat and put a lid on them. So we'll wait 8 or 9 minutes, and then we'll start peeling them. In the meantime, let's get our dredge ready to go. So the first thing we're going to need is that breadcrumb mixture. Do a nice dredging container. Then we need 1/3 cup of flour in another dredging container. And finally, 1 egg beaten into our final dredging container. So typical dredging, flour, egg, breadcrumb. Nice and easy. Okay, and once those eggs are done, you're going to want to get them off the stove and drain them as quickly as you can. The faster you can get them into cold water, the faster you can stop that cooking process and avoid your yolks turning black. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna drain those off, and then we'll be back and ready to peel them up. So one of the things that you can do to cool your eggs faster is submerge them in ice water. I don't find that necessary. As long as you empty the pot of water and fill with cold water a couple of times, you should get the same result anyway. So we're just gonna let these cool down for a couple minutes in this cold water, and we should be good to peel. So it's been a couple of minutes. The eggs are ready to be peeled. Let's get peeling. Basically all you wanna do, or the way I find it easiest, just kind of crack the egg on a countertop, roll it around a little bit, just to kind of break that shell up. Then you should be able to more or less just kind of peel it right off. May not come all as one big piece, but as you can see, that baking soda made that super easy. The shell more or less just fell right off. All right, so now that we've got our eggs all ready to go, all you're gonna do, just encase it in sausage. This isn't always easy to do, so you gotta kind of be patient and work slowly at it. And again, you want to try to get that egg as close to the middle of your sausage meat as you can. That's not exactly easy to do, so closer the better. Don't worry if it's not perfect. So, now that we've got our eggs done, it's time to get on to the dredging. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take our egg, we're gonna put it in the flour, we're gonna roll that egg ball around until it's completely covered in flour. Then we're gonna do the exact same thing with the egg. Careful if it starts to break open a little bit. You want to kind of seal it back shut as best you can. And once you've got that covered in the egg, into the breadcrumbs it goes. There you have it. 1 down, 2 to go. I'll go ahead and do those, and we'll see you when I'm finished. There we go, 3 egg balls. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put these in the refrigerator, let them cool a little bit. While that's going on, I'm gonna tidy some of this stuff up. Then we'll be ready to start deep frying. All right, we're back. I've let the eggs sit in the fridge for a while. I tidied the kitchen up a little bit, and then I turned the deep fryer on and let that get up to temperature as well. I put the deep fryer on about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And don't worry, if you don't have a deep fryer, a cast iron frying pan is fine. Just put about 2 to 3 inches of oil in there, cook away, should be just fine. I prefer to use the deep fryer because you can put the whole egg right in. Now it won't submerge the whole thing, but it will do about half of it. Just cook that for about 4 minutes, flip it over, cook it for another 4 minutes. It should be perfect. So without further ado, let's get cooking. Into the oil they go. Like I said, we'll leave those 4 minutes, give them a flip after 4, and see how they turn out. All right, it's been 4 minutes. Give these guys a flip. They're looking nice and golden brown. We'll let those keep cooking and we'll check back in about another 3 or 4 minutes. While these sausage finish up, I did go ahead and wash the plate and get some paper towel for it as well. When the sausage come out, we're gonna put it on this paper towel and let them drain and cool a little bit before we have a taste. Okay, so they should be done now. We'll go ahead, we'll turn our deep fryer off. We'll pull them out, put them on the paper towel, and be back in 15 minutes to let you know how they taste. All right, the eggs cooled for about 35 minutes or so now, so they should be good to cut into. Let's see what the inside looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty good. As you can see, did a pretty decent job on this one of getting that egg in the middle. The egg is cooked perfectly. The sausage is cooked perfectly. Looks excellent. Unfortunately, I just had oral surgery 2 days ago, and I'm not allowed to eat hard food like this quite yet. been on a pasta and soup diet for a little while, so I'm getting really excited to eat something like this. Unfortunately, that means I won't be able to taste test it today, but trust me, these are excellent. One thing you can do is you can eat these on their own. They're terrific that way, or you're more than welcome to make a garlic aioli. Very good with that. You could make some kind of a hot sauce. It would probably be pretty good, but I will warn you that these are generally pretty hot anyway. Or ranch dressing, blue cheese, those would work as well. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button if you really liked it. Share the video with everybody you know and let us know down below. What would you like to see us cook next? And don't forget, first we cook, then we eat. So good.